welcome back to the Shook Sports Take podcast. Hope you are all doing well. Today is the final episode of the NBA All-Star evaluations. This is the last division of the Western Conference, which is the Southwest Division. The Dallas Mavericks, the San Antonio Spurs, the Houston Rockets, the Memphis Grizzlies, and the New Orleans Pelicans will be the final five teams in this episode. It's been a wild ride so far in the season. A lot of unpredictable things and some predictable things. But we'll kick it off. We're here with the Dallas Mavericks as we cap off this final run of videos. Rocky season for the Dallas Mavericks, 21-44 as their record, 13th in the Western Conference. They obviously made the big decision to move off Anthony Davis at the deadline, which was it really just encapsulates how much of a fail trading Luka Doncic was. In total, now they have 2 draft picks from moving away from Luka, and Marvin Bagley and Chris Middleton. So, I mean, it has been, considering the fact that this team was in the was in the NBA Finals just 2 years ago, it has been a complete capitulation. But the only bright spot is Cooper Flagg. Probably going to win Rookie of the Year, 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists a night. His three-point percentage is a little low, but I'm sure that's something he can clean up. His mid-range game looks very pure. He is a dynamic scorer, can get inside, can kill you at the mid-range. So, he's the favorite to win Rookie of the Year. Concanepel's given him quite the run for his money, but I'm sure Cooper Flagg will end up pulling in the award. He's going to develop into the player that we know he can be. But, I mean, not to mention the fact that this team has just been littered with injuries. Kyrie Irving obviously not played all season, won't play, I assume, at all this season. You're looking at Daniel Gafford, who missed a large portion of games. Derek Lively has missed, I think is done for the year at this point. He's barely played. Klay Thompson's missed a lot of time. P.J. Washington missed a couple of games here and there. But, I mean, overall, this team is just really struggling. They don't have a secondary scoring weapon outside of Cooper Flagg. He is almost solely responsible, and you have some guys contributing. Najee Marshall's averaging 15, Max Christie 12, P.J. Washington 13, but there's not a guy that can take the pressure off Cooper Flagg in big moments to score the ball efficiently and effectively, and that's a real problem. I'm sure that will look a lot different when Kyrie Irving comes back next year, but we're talking about an ACL tear at the age of, 33, 34 years old. Kyrie Irving might not look the same. Now, is it likely that he comes back and is still a very solid player? Of course, Kyrie Irving is very, very good. But, a knee injury like that this late in his career, I'm not sure we're going to see the best out of Kyrie. And honestly, I think this Mavs team is really going to be paying for the decision to move off Luka Doncic for a very long time. Obviously, Anthony Davis didn't work out. He's not even on the roster anymore. And I look down at the roster and I don't see... I see a nice bit of depth. There's a lot of depth to this team. The level between the starters and the bench players, pretty similar, but there just isn't star power anymore. I mean, again, this team was just in the NBA Finals 2 seasons ago, being led by one of the best, if not the best, young player in the NBA in Luka Doncic. And now, one really terrible move, and it's crazy to me how badly this has turned out. Obviously, they fired Nico Harrison. No surprises there. It had to happen. But man, I will give a shout out to Brandon Williams, 13 points on the season. He is very good at getting to the basket. He just, every time he gets it, similar to A.J. Mitchell of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the way that every time it's in his hands, he just wants to get downhill. He wants to attack. His three-point percentage definitely needs to be cleaned up. He's not shooting well, but he also doesn't shoot a lot of them. He just wants to get downhill, get to his spots, and he's very good at that. So I've been really impressed with his play this season. It'll be cool to see him coming off the bench for Kyrie next year as the rotation option, see how he can play as that sixth-man kind of role. Maybe not the sixth man, but that first guard off the bench. But overall, the Mavs are it's gonna be bad for a while, and I don't know how they're gonna fix this and remedy this situation, because this roster is not title contending, and you can't just keep preventing Cooper Flagg from Cooper Flagg needs good teammates around him. It's not good to just have no one play around him, right? So I don't know. I think we all know that the decision to trade Luka was terrible, but it is absolutely plummeted. Which originally I looked at that Mavs roster and I said, this team is good. Even when like the start of the offseason, but when they had Anthony Davis, I said if assuming he can play, and you keep Gafford, and you have Cooper Flag now at the three, it looks like this was going to be a solid team, but things have not gone their way. Of course, again, Davis could not stay healthy. They had to trade him. Gafford could not stay healthy. Lively could not stay healthy, and that has been a killer for them. So I don't know if they are as bad as it looks. I don't know if they're 13 in the Western Conference bad. I think some of that has kind of derailed a little bit by injury, but this team is certainly not good. Now, on the other end of the Western Conference is the San Antonio Spurs who sit at second, 48-17 on a 5-game win streak. This team is really, really, really good, and I thought they would be good. I did not think that they would be beating the Thunder 3 out of 4 games so far this season. I didn't think this Spurs team would. I mean, they look so dominant when they're playing really well, which is quite often, obviously, having won 48 games. Second in the Western Conference, I didn't see that coming. Even in my prediction video, I said I think they probably fall to the 4 or the 5, but they have been impeccable, and it's on both sides of the floor. Early in the season, they were the best defensive team in the NBA. Now, I think that title definitely goes to the Pistons, but they are a great defensive team. A lot of that has to do with guys like Stephon Castle, guys like Keldon Johnson, guys like Julian Champagnie. But they're just as dominant on offense, 5th in points per game, 6th in field goal percentage. They don't turn the ball over. They're 4th in that category as well. And it all starts with Victor Wembanyama, who leads the league in blocks, but also puts up 24 and 11 on the night. I mean, there just isn't much to say. We all know how good Victor Wembanyama is. He can ruin a game by shooting straight over your center because he's 7'4", but he can also hit a tween step back and drill a 3, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, the guy is literally an alien. That's the most accurate nickname I've ever heard in my entire life. But I want to spend more time talking about Stephon Castle, who is averaging 16 and 7 on the season. He is very, very crafty going downhill. His layup package is very hard to defend, very dynamic in the way that he can score when he gets to the rack. His three-point shooting is still not the best, something I'm sure is going to continue to develop, as you see with a lot of young guards. But, I mean, Stephon Castle is unbelievable on the offensive end, and my favorite part about it is then he goes on defense and he will guard your best player, and typically does a really, really good job. Stephon Castle is a very solid perimeter defender, and you pair that with De'Aaron Fox, who is averaging 19 and 6, which in terms of scoring has been a little bit of a letdown from last season. He was scoring, I think, 23 last year. But, Castle's role has increased. He's come off an injury. He's getting better in his last few, 29, 19, 20, and 25. It creates a lot for this offense as well. 10 assists on that game with 20 points. That backcourt is averaging 12 assists. They move the ball really, really well. And honestly, I think a lot of success for this Spurs team comes from head coach Mitch Johnson, who deserves a lot of praise for the way. I think he's probably going to end up being in that Coach of the Year conversation. He'll probably fall short to J.B. Bickerstaff, who absolutely deserves to win it, of course, for the way that he has the Pistons playing. But this team for the San Antonio Spurs is very dangerous because there's not a whole lot of drop-off when you go to the bench. Keldon Johnson, Julian Champagnie, Devin Vassell, Luke Cornett, when they start to run those two big men, and now Wembanyama is being guarded most likely by your power forward, that you just don't have a lot of success. And it is really, really fun to watch the Spurs team play basketball when they're on top of things, which again is quite often. I would not be surprised to see this team in the finals whatsoever. I think that they are that good, and they obviously seem to have the Oklahoma City Thunder's number. So if that's the matchup in the Western Conference Finals, I'm taking the Spurs to win probably in 5 or 6 games. Of course, the playoffs is a little bit different, but this Spurs team is nasty, and they are the truth. And honestly, there's a chance that this team could end up bringing home a championship. To Houston, where the Rockets are 3rd in the Western Conference, 40 and 25, and I don't know how to feel about this team. They're definitely going to be in the playoffs, and they're probably going to end up with a tough draw. It could end up being the Timberwolves in that first round if they fall to the 4. It's not a fun place to be. Now, the positives of this Rocket team: great defense, 4th in points per game given up, 110, 7th in opponent field goal percentage, 2nd in blocks at 5.8, first the best rebounding team in the league. And they shoot it pretty well. They're top 10 in three-point percentage. They are 9th in field goal percentage, but just something about it doesn't seem to fit. Firstly, I cannot stand that Reed Shepherd does not get more minutes. He should start every night for this team. When he plays 35 minutes, last 2 games he's played 35 minutes, 17 and 3 and 6, 17 3 and 3 on good shooting percentage. But then his minutes out of nowhere just drop off, and he only scores 9 to 7 points. And honestly, like, I understand that Fred VanVleet isn't healthy, but something about this game or this team just feels like they are waiting till next year to really give it a push when he gets back. And that seems completely ridiculous to me, considering the fact that Kevin Durant is 37 years old and still playing at the ridiculously high level he is. 25, 5 and 4th, 40% from 3, 51% from the floor. Kevin Durant is going to continue to play at such a high level. You have to take advantage of that. Şengün has had a good year. Kind of similar to almost a little bit regressive of what happened last year. Now, some of that is because Kevin Durant is now on the team and he's not the first option anymore. But, you get into some of these games where Şengün is playing against really talented centers, and it feels like he just kind of gets bullied a little bit. He's not a superb defender. I think that lets him down at times, but 20 and 8 and 6 on the season. He's a very good player. He's not shooting the three particularly well, but that's not really his game. He's looked to try to improve that. He's taken more threes this season, but when it really, really comes down to it, he is getting on that block. He is shaking and baking in the post, and he does a good job there. But something about it, man, this Rockets team doesn't feel like they're all in when the move for Kevin Durant was absolutely an all-in move. Moving off Jalen Green, who was obviously not working out, and buying in on a 37-year-old Kevin Durant, I would have thought that would put you all in. It just hasn't seemed to play out that way. I love what Amin Thompson is doing, 17, 7, and 5. We know how good he is, both ends. He's one of the best perimeter defenders in the entire NBA, if not the best, maybe second to his brother Allstar. Nothing bad really to say about him. And then Jabari Smith, who, great size, good defender, has struggled from 3 a little bit, considering the fact that is kind of his role in this team. And they have great defenders elsewhere. Tari Eason, Josh Okogie. They have a lot of talent on this team. Dorian Finney-Smith, who has barely played, unfortunately, but another great defender for the perimeter. This team should be winning more games. At 45 and 25, yeah, it's a good record. They're third in the West, but I just don't know if I have the confidence in them to beat Denver in a series. They certainly won't beat San Antonio, and I don't think they beat OKC in a series. And you should have been all in at this point. I don't know if I understand. Maybe they're thinking that Durant is going to be able to play till he's 40. That's probably the case. But I'm really confused as to what it is that this team is trying to achieve this season with such a limited window at what feels like a really tough Western Conference. I feel like there should have been more of a focus on playing the right guys, and that hasn't happened. Like I said, Reed Shepherd is not playing enough minutes, and that's really confusing to me. They were unfortunate to see Steven Adams miss the rest of the year. He has been a great piece off the bench for them. I don't know. This Rockets team is probably only going to get to the second round if they don't draw Minnesota. I think if they draw Minnesota, that could not go in their favor as well. Overall, they're a great team. They're going to probably finish around that 3 to 5 range, and they probably are not going to the Western Conference Finals this season, and that sucks for them because when they made the move for Durant, we were talking about a ring season. The Pelicans sit at 12th in the Western Conference, 22 and 45. This is a team that has really, really struggled, and a team that I actually predicted would be in the bottom of that play-in, looking at the roster. I literally liked this roster at the start of the season with the pieces of depth they added. I thought they killed the draft with Derek Queen and Jeremiah Fears. I really like the move for Kevon Looney, and it just has not played out at all for this team. Outside of Trey Murphy averaging 22, shooting 38% from 3, and Zion Williamson averaging 21 and 5, this team has not been superb. They've really struggled to actively score. They are the 15th best point scoring team in the league, which is obviously middle of the road, but on nights where Murphy's not on it, they're probably going to lose. I will give a lot of credit. Sadiq Bey has come in, and there are nights where no one's getting it going, and then there's Sadiq Bey, who is like 8 for 12 from the floor and hit 6 threes. I mean, he can be just that spark plug offensively. And it's great for this Pelicans team. He had 23 against the Wizards. He had 20 against the Kings. He had 24 against the Jazz. 42 in the game before that on the 26th of February. So, I mean, he is just almost like an electric charge to this team. When this offense needs something, they go to Sadiq Bey, and it typically works out for them. He's averaging 17 on the season, so I'll give him a lot of credit. But this Pelican team confuses me, man, because Derek Queen only plays 25 minutes a night. Jeremiah Fears also only plays 25 minutes a night. Those are two guys that I would have thought, with such a tough time in the way that they're playing, they're really struggling to get anything going consistently. I would have thought that you just would have leaned on getting the experience for the young guys, and that's just not happened. Derek Queen has been great this season when he's played a lot of minutes. In the 25 minutes, he's playing 11 and 7. He's been very consistent, and pairing him with Zion Williamson, he looks very good, but he just doesn't get the chance. And I understand now DeJounte Murray's come back. He's been great in the period he's played. He's not been efficient, but he's been actively scoring the ball. He had 27 in their last game. So I understand now that Jeremiah Fears might have a reduction of minutes, but earlier in the season when Jordan Poole was struggling so much, he should have just been starting Fears and getting Fears as much experience as possible to benefit you later down the line. I just don't know if I understand. Same thing with Yves Missi. He's not really played. He's only averaging 18 minutes a game. That's crazy to me, considering the fact that there was periods when Zion was out last year that he was the best player on the court for them. I just don't understand it. I already talked about Jordan Poole. 13 points on the season, shooting 34% from three and just over 40% from the floor. He has not blossomed into the superstar we thought he was going to be in Golden State. If you think back to that 2022 team, it always felt like Jordan Poole, if he ends up leaving Golden State, could end up being a superstar. And that just has not happened whatsoever. It definitely didn't happen in Washington. It certainly is not happening here. And so this Pelican team, I just would have thought that they really would have leaned on to the youth of this team and gotten guys experience, but I don't really know what's going on. I mean, they're not even going to their veterans. Kevon Looney is not playing. He's averaging 13 minutes a game. That is crazy to me, considering it was a really solid move, in my opinion, in free agency to bring him in. So I don't really understand. I think maybe Zion Williamson moves in the offseason. Something I could certainly see happening just to cash in, because his value is still high because a lot of people around the league still believe in him, but I don't think it's worth keeping him on this roster anymore. I would certainly try to move him if you could get a good deal out of it. And honestly, I'd just let Trey Murphy be the leader of this team, build around him, because his scoring, the rate he scores at, is wildly impressive. Again, 22 on 38% from 3, 47% from the floor. Almost night in and night out, this guy's going for 20. So he is the guy I would be focusing my future on, and find ways to build around him. I'd certainly try to keep Herb Jones, who is an extremely talented perimeter defender. I think he's a great piece, and I think that they have the pieces to be a solid team in a few years. But I think Zion Williamson's going to have to be moved away in order for that to fully progress. To the Memphis Grizzlies, who have a boatload of picks. I think it's 7 first-round picks in the next few years, between trading away Jaren Jackson Jr. and trading away Desmond Bane. That is a positive for sure, but this roster is a complete mess. Firstly, they have so many injuries. John Morant has not played since January. Zach Edey's not played since the calendar year change. He has not played since the 7th of December. Cedric Coward is hurt. Walter Clayton, who they brought in from the Jaren Jackson Jr. trade, he's hurt. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, he's hurt. They finally got Scottie Pippen Jr. back. That's great. He's been great on defense. I think he's 9th in steals per game since his return. So that's a real positive. Ty Jerome is finally back playing here and there. He's averaging 20 and 5 in his performances. 48% from the floor, 40% from 3. So that's been a real boost for them. but yeah, I mean, just so very injured. Santi Aldama's missing time as well. Brandon Clark has missed a large period of the season as well. Right now, I mean, they're just looking at the bare bones of the roster. Cam Spencer starting games. Jalen Wells is still playing fine. 43%, 35 from the floor on 12 points. Still a very solid defender as well. He's gonna be a guy that develops. So is Cedric Coward, but I just don't really know what to do with this Grizzlies roster. I cannot believe that Ja Morant is still on this team. He has been terrible even when he has played. 19 points per game, 23% from three, shooting 4 of them of a game. However, he does have 8.1 assists per game, so the numbers are okay. But Ja Morant does not look like he wants to be here, and I think you have to move off of him in the off season. This team needs a proper rebuild, and I think that's what they're going with. I don't know if I would have said that this team needed to rebuild last year before they traded Desmond Bain. I thought this team was still maybe a few solid pieces away, and now they're a complete mess. They are 23 and 41, 11th in the Western Conference. They've lost their last 5. It's a very strange situation. How quickly this whole thing has deteriorated for them. I would certainly see what you can get for Ja Morant. It's probably not going to be a lot considering the fact that Trae Young was Trae Young was not even a first round pick. He was worth C.J. McCollum and Corey Kispert. So I do not think the market for Ja Morant is going to be exactly intriguing. It's not going to be very useful, but I do think he has got to be cleared off the roster. Considering the fact that he doesn't even seem he wants to be playing basketball in Memphis anymore. But then, I mean, if they could find a way to get healthy, this is still a solid team. If you're looking at Zach Edey, Ty Jerome, Scottie Pippen Jr., Cedric Coward, and Jalen Wells, with KCP and Walter Clayton and Santi Aldama all off the bench, that is still a solid team. Of course, it would need a true scorer, and that's going to take time. But now you're looking at the fact that you have 7 picks to use in the next couple of years. I think Memphis are going to have to rebuild, and that is, again, not something I would have said last year, considering the fact that they had 3 really solid players on that roster. A Defensive Player of the Year candidate in Jaren Jackson Jr. and a still developing Desmond Bain. Obviously, that's no longer the case. Those 2 are gone, and Ja Morant has rapidly decreased in his play. So, yeah, I mean, it's quite a wild situation. I thought the trade of moving off Jaren Jackson Jr., it did make sense considering what this season looked like. His value was never going to be higher, and 3 first-round picks and a boatload of players, one of them being Walter Clayton, who I'm a huge fan of. I thought it was definitely worth it, and it was a good trade for the Grizzlies. I don't know how they go, what they do from here, because they need an entire rebuild of this roster. And I think this team is going to go through a struggling period for the next 2 seasons probably. But yeah, that is the whole NBA done for the All-Star break evaluations. Feel free to let me know if there's anything else that you want to see here in terms of content, and let me know what I did and did not get right in your opinion. I'm very open to conversations and debates on these teams and how they've played this season. So feel free to let me know any of that in the comments. Leave a like, subscribe, and have a blessed day.